Hello and welcome to this first look at exploring session, looking at, which iteration of the title do I want to go for? It's generally known as the Late Lancashire Witches. Some people call it the Lancashire Witches. Some people call it the Witches of Lancashire. As long as you've got Lancashire and witches in there, you're probably fine. It's by Thomas Heywood and Richard Brome, and it dates from 1634, where it was... seemed to be reasonably successful for a few shows, and has a hinterland and afterlife, which we may discuss in future sessions. But for the moment, we're just going to be trying to get our eyes down onto quite a long play, so we're going to be moving at some pace, he said. Reading today, Generous, Gregory and Maul is...
Lois in London.
Reading the prologue, Seeley and Soldier is...
Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Parnel and Gill is...
Hello, it's Greg, a long way from Lancashire.
Reading Whetstone, Joan and Boy is...
Sue in Norwich, England.
Reading Doughty, Robert/Robin and Miller is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm here. I'm not going to try and be Robert because I can't do his accent.
Reading Bantam and Goody Dickieson is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern US.
Reading Shakestone and Winny is...
Aliki, also quite a long way from Lancashire.
Reading Arthur and Maud is...
Sarah Blake in The Hague in the Netherlands.
And reading Lawrence and Meg is...
Donald in the English Midlands.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and generally moving us forward. Without further ado, let's start with a prologue, and then, unless it's desperately exciting, we'll run straight into Act 1.
Taranto's falling, and no footpost late, possessing us with news of foreign state. No accident abroad, worthy relation. Arriving here, we are forced from our own nation to crown the scene that's now in agitation. The project unto many here well known, those witches the fat jailer brought to town. Argument so thin, persons so low, can neither yield much matter nor great show. Expect no more than can from such be raised. So may the scene pass pardoned, though not praised.
And we go into Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Master Arthur, Master Shakestone, Master Bantam. Enter as from hunting.
Was ever sport of expectation thus crossed in the height?
Gosh, these are accidents all game is subject to.
So you may call them. Chances or crosses or what else you please. But for my part, I'll hold them prodigies as things transcending nature.
I didn't realize it was on. Oh, God, I'm an idiot. Oh, you speak this because a hare hath crossed you.
A hare? A witch, or rather a devil, I think. For tell me, gentlemen, was't possible in such a fair course, and no covert near, we in pursuit, and she in constant view, our eyes not wandering, but all bent that way, the dogs in chase, she ready to be seized, and at the instant, when I have durst laid my life to gauge my dog had pinched her, then to vanish into nothing.
Somewhat strange, but not as you enforce it.
Make it plain that I am in an error. Sure I am that I about me have no borrowed eyes. They are mine own and matches.
She might find some muse and then not visible to us and escape that way.
Perhaps some fox had earthed there, and though it be not common, for I seldom have known or heard the like, there squat herself, and so escape natural witch, you proclaim a wonder.
Well, well, gentlemen, be you of your own faith, but what I see, and is to me apparent, being in sense, my wits about me, no way tossed or troubled, to that will I give credit.
Come, come, all men were never of one mind, nor I of yours.
To leave this argument, are you resolved where we should dine today?
Yes, where we purposed.
That was with Master Generous.
True, the same, and where a loving welcome is presumed, whose liberal table's never unprepared, nor he of guests unfurnished. Of his means there's none can bear it with a braver port and keep his state unshaken. One who sells not nor covets he to purchase, holds his own without oppressing others, always pressed to endear him to him any known gentleman in whom he finds good parts.
A character not common in this age.
I cannot wind him up unto the least part of his noble worth. 'Tis far above my strength.
Whetstone enters.
See who come yonder, a fourth to make a full mess of guests at Master Generous' table.
Tush, let him pass. He's not worth our luring, a mere coxcomb. It is a way to call our wits in question to have him seen amongst us.
He has spied us. There's no way to evade him.
That's my grief. A most notorious liar. Out upon him!
Let's set the best face on't.
Gentlemen, all mine old acquaintance, a whole triplicity of friends together. Nay then, 'tis 3-1 we shall not soon part company.
Sweet Master Whetstone.
Dainty Master Whetstone.
Delicate Master Whetstone.
You say right. Master Whetstone I have been, Master Whetstone I am, and Master Whetstone I shall be. And those who know me know withal that I have not my name for nothing. I am he whom all the brave blades of the country used to whet their wits upon. Sweet Master Shakespeare, dainty Master Bantam, and dainty Master Arthur, and how, what all lustic, all frogligozone. I know you are going to my uncle's to dinner, and so am I too. What, shall we all make one rendezvous there? You need not doubt of your welcome.
No doubt at all, kind Master Whetstone. But we have not seen you of late. You're grown a great stranger among us. I desire sometimes to give you a visit. I pray, where do you lie?
Where do I lie? Why, sometimes in one place and then again in another. I love to shift lodgings, but most constantly, wheresoe'er I dine or sup, there do I lie.
I never heard that word proceed from him, I durst call truth till now.
But wheresoever I lie, 'tis no matter for that. I pray you say, and say truth, are not you three now going to dinner with my uncles?
I think you are a witch, Master Whetstone.
Oh, a witch, gentlemen? I hope you do not mean to abuse me, though at this time, if I report be true, there are too many of them here in our country. But I am sure I look like no such ugly creature.
It seems then you are of the opinion that there are witches. For mine own part, I can hardly be induced to think there is any such kind of people.
No such kind of people? I pray you tell me, gentlemen, did never any one of you know my mother?
Why? Was your mother a witch?
I do not say as witches go nowadays, for they are the most part are ugly old bedlams. But she was a lusty young lass, and by her own report, by her beauty and fair looks, bewitched my father.
It seems then your mother was rather a young wanton wench than an old withered witch.
You say right, and know withal I come of two ancient families. For as I am a Whetstone by my mother's side, so I am a byblow by the father.
It appears then by your discourse that you came in at the window.
I would have you think I scorn like a Granam's cat to leap over the hatch.
He hath confessed himself to be a bastard.
And I believe it as a notorious truth.
However, I was begot. Here you see I am, and if my parents went to it without fear or wit, what can I help?
Very probable, for as he was got without fear, so it is apparent he was born without wit.
Gentlemen, it seems you have some private business amongst yourselves, which I am not willing to interrupt. I know not how the day goes with you, but for mine own part, my stomach is now much more upon 12. You know what hour my uncle keeps, and I love ever to be set before the first grace. I am going before. Speak. Shall I acquaint him with your coming after?
We mean this day to see what fare he keeps.
and you know it is his custom to fare well. And in that respect, I think I may be his kinsman. So farewell, gentlemen. I'll be your forerunner to give him notice of your visit.
And so entire us to you.
Sweet Master Whetstone.
Kind Master Byblow.
I see you are perfect both in my name and surname. I have ever been bound unto you, for which I will at this time be your noverint, and give him notice that you undis will be with him per presentes, and that I take to presently.
And exit Whetstone.
Farewell. As in presenti.
It seems he's a piece of a scholar.
What, because he hath read a little scrivener's Latin? He never proceeded farther in his accidents than to mentri non est meum, and that was such a hard lesson to learn that he stuck at menteria and could never reach to non est meum, since a mere ignaro are not worth acknowledgment.
Are these then the best parts he can boast of?
As you see him now, so shall you find him ever, all in one strain. There is only one thing which I wonder he left out.
And what might that be?
Of the same affinity with the rest. At every second word he is commonly boasting either of his aunt or his uncle.
Master Generous enters.
You name him in good time. See where he comes.
A gentleman, welcome. 'Tis a word I use. From me expect no further compliment, nor do I name it often at one meeting. Once spoke to those that understand me best, and know I always purpose as I speak, hath ever yet sufficed. So let it you. Nor do I love that common phrase of guests, as we make bold, or we are troublesome, we take you unprovided, and the like. I know you, understanding gentlemen, and knowing me, cannot persuade yourselves with me you shall be troublesome or bold, but still provided for my worthy friend, amongst whom you are listed.
Noble sir, you generously instruct us, and to express we can be your apt scholars. In a word, we come to dine with you.
And, gentlemen, such plainness doth best please me. I had notice of so much by my kinsman, and to show how lovingly I took it, instantly rose from my chair to meet you at the gate, and be myself your usher. Nor shall you find, being set to meet, that I'll excuse your fare and say I am sorry it falls out so poor, and had I known your coming, we'd have had such things and such, nor blame my cook to say this dish or that hath not been sauced with care. Words fitting best a common hostess's mouth, when there's perhaps some just cause of dislike, but not the table of a gentleman. Nor is it my wife's custom. In a word, take what you find, and so.
Sir, without flattery, you may be called the sole surviving son of long since banished hospitality.
In that you please me not. But, gentlemen, I hope to be beholden to you all, which, if I prove, I'll be a grateful debtor.
Wherein, good sir?
I ever studied plainness and truth withal.
Pray express yourself.
In few I shall. I know this youth, to whom my wife is aunt, is, as you needs must find him, weak and shallow, dull as his name, and what for kindred's sake we note not, or at least are loath to see, is unto such well-knowing gentlemen most grossly visible. If, for my sake, you will but seem to wink at those his wants, at least at table before us, his friends, I shall receive it as a courtesy not soon to be forgot.
Presume it, sir.
Now, when you please, pray, enter, gentlemen.
Would these my friends prepare the way before, to be resolved of one thing before dinner, would something add unto mine appetite? Shall I entreat you so much?
Oh, sir, you may command us.
In the meantime, prepare your stomachs with a bowl of sack. My cellar can afford it.
Bantam and Shakestone exit.
Now, Master Arthur, pray freely speak your thoughts.
I come not, sir, to press a promise from you. Take it not so. Rather to prompt your memory in a motion made to you not long since?
Was not about a manor, the best part of your estate, mortgaged to one slips no advantages which you would have redeemed?
True, sir, the same.
And as I think, I promised at that time to become bound with you, or if the usurer, a base yet the best title I can give him, perhaps should question that security, to have the money ready. Was not so?
It was to that purpose we discoursed.
Provided to have the writings in my custody, else how should I secure mine own estate?
To deny that, I should appear to the world stupid and of no brain.
Your money's ready.
And I remain a man obliged to you, beyond all utterance.
Make then your word good by speaking it no further. Only this. It seems your uncle you trusted in so far hath failed your expectation.
Sir, he hath. Not that he is unwilling or unable, but at this time unfit to be solicited. For to the country's wonder and my sorrow, he is much to be pitied.
Why, I entreat you.
Because he's late become the sole discourse of all the country. For, of a man respected for his discretion and known gravity, as master of a governed family, the house, as if the ridge were fixed below and groundsaws lifted up to make the roof, all now turned topsy-turvy.
Strange, but how?
In such a retrograde and preposterous way as seldom hath been heard of. I think never.
Can you discourse the manner?
The good man, in all obedience, kneels unto his son. He, with an austere brow, commands his father. The wife presumes not in the daughter's sight without a prepared curtsy. The girl, she expects it as a duty, chides her mother, who quakes and trembles at each word she speaks. And what's so strange, the maid, she domineers over her young mistress, who is awed by her. The son, to whom the father creeps and bends, stand in as much fear of the groom, his man. All in such rare disorder, that in some as it breeds pity, and in others wonder, so, in the most part, laughter.
How think you this might come?
'Tis thought by witchcraft.
They that think so dream, for my belief is no such thing can be. A madness, you may call it. Dinner stays. That done, the best part of the afternoon will spend about your business.
And exit and end of scene. It's a big scene. A lot goes on there. And in many ways, the most important, perhaps, bit of detail is at the end of the scene with this little exchange. But that's not to say that there aren't details going on in there. I mean, what I like about this scene is it starts so light and jolly, and oh, here's that all over there, and everyone's gossiping about stuff. And they mention in passing, oh, witches, ha ha ha. And slowly you get this sort of creeping in the scene, and you get to the end where it's going, oh no, this household is really messed up. Some strange stuff is going on. And suddenly idle talk about, oh, my mother was a witch, ha ha ha, might not be quite so wise a thing to be saying. The early modern period, really not a wise thing to be saying. But yeah, so this sort of drift from what we might call bants via Bantam and towards something a little more sinister. You're very much getting a sense of if not a full community, you're definitely getting a sense of a lot of people who all know each other, live together, and and knows each other's foibles. Thoughts from the room? I say a lot happened. In a sense, not a lot happened, but a lot of information was imparted. Some of it really in passing, so you almost don't notice it. And I suspect there may be more on that later. Thoughts in the room, Eric?
I feel like we've all met Whetstone, like, before. He's the kind of person, I mean, not in a play, but I mean, just as a human being, he's the kind of person that you woke up to, and he'll sort of, you ask, how are you, or how are the kids, and he'll start telling you his life story without any prompt whatsoever, and he'll start taking out photos, and you're like, I have to go, but he won't, he just keeps going. But I think he's very delightful in this particular play.
Yes, Lois, then Susan.
Well, he does keep going, but he's not an idiot because he does notice that they're all making, I mean, he may not know that they're all making rude remarks about him behind his back, but he does notice that they're all talking among themselves. He says, I see you have some private business. I won't, hang around any longer. So he's not insensitive to what's going on.
Yes, he's just terribly florid, isn't he? He's full of these sort of little affectations, and these little modes of speech, and everyone's mocking him for it. A lot of these sort of sweepings, turns of phrase at him. Susan, then Aliki.
Well, it was just, there's a little bit of the Burlington Bertie about him, isn't there? That, he turns up when there's a meal, and I sleep where there's a free meal.
Yeah, fair enough. Aliki, then Alan.
I was also interested in Generous's kind of first remarks on that. Look, I know he's an idiot. We all know he's an idiot, but he's family. Please don't make fun of him at my table.
Yeah, I'm that thing of going, okay, a little mockery is a little, but don't let it slide into bullying, please. We are a community. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, it struck me that the other youngsters, or the three we first met, are well-practiced sponges anyway. Oh, we'll just go and bum a lunch off old Generous.
And it's, generous, generous by name, generous by nature. I mean, Arthur's got this problem that, he needs effectively someone to underwrite a business transaction here, and he'd normally go to his uncle, but he can't because weird stuff's going down. Generous, of course, is there, and he's obviously going to be terribly generous, and people are supportive. It's not, you don't quite get that sense. I mean, that this is a community of people, everybody's at their throats. People are mocking people. There's this stuff, but actually, it feels like actually this is a community that sort of functions, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens as it starts to not function, which is, I assume, where this play is going to go. And it helps if you start off vaguely liking everybody. I don't hate anyone here. Sometimes when you have mocking people, you kind of just hate them all because they're all horrid. I'm not sure I do hate them. I mean, they possibly go a little too far, but I can't put my hand up and say I've not been there. Sarah, and then Susan, then Eric.
Oh.
I'm not usually a fan of video projections on stage, but I have to say I'd be really tempted to project that hunting scene with the deer disappearing. Depending on, I don't know which way the play is going to go, but it might be quite fun to actually have that happen. Do a bit of filming and actually have that happen before the audience's eyes, just to kind of create this sense of like weird otherness to then contrast with, the comedy of the meeting Whetstone and the, the convivial hosting of Generous, just to sort of contrast that human world with a slightly uncanny other world right at the beginning of the play, just to kind of whet the audience's appetite, regardless of which way it's going to go, to sort of, plant that seed in their head.
Eric, and then Susan. Was it? No, Susan, then Eric.
No, it was Susan first.
Yeah.
I just think, pub friendships. It's blokes in a pub. And that is a brilliant idea, Sarah, because the other world of nature, I can see the paintings like Utrillo or something, those horses and lovely. And then we're back to blokes in a pub. Those friendships are a very particular, have a quality, which we're not part of, are we ever?
Eric.
Sorry, I just like that added comment of like, we're not part of that, are we? Of course not.
No comment.
I was just going to add like Sarah's idea, basically combine your idea with Sarah's, where like I would actually make this into a film and add like sort of something really, really sinister in the soundtrack. Just like, how sometimes at the beginning of a film you have these like, not violins, but like a sort of undertone that sort of like the soundtrack just plays up this whole thing of like something else is going on here, but we don't know about it yet.
You want a drone. You're asking for a drone,
Yes, I
aren't
want
you?
a drone, or like, well, not a bagpipe, but like that sort of, like that really deep sound of like maybe a violin or something. I don't know. And yeah, you would just like sort of add that sort of, and it would accumulate in the background. And obviously, because you're just being introduced to guys in a pub, you'd be wondering what on earth is going on. I mean, I've had this moment with other films that I've seen where you just kind of wonder, what on earth? Why are they playing this? It's not such a dramatic scene. And then you obviously move on to the later stages of, so that's what was going on.
Well, yeah, because we don't quite know where this is going and what tone it's aiming for. So it's that thing, because it felt quite light and bucolic at the beginning, despite some of the weirdnesses. But yeah, where would we place this genre in a modern genre terms, as well as where we'd put it in an early modern genre terms? And at this stage, I don't think we can answer that. Very briefly, Lois, then we need to move on.
Yeah, well, I was really just going to echo this. I suppose the question is, how far do you want to make the sinister side of it come out at the beginning, or how far do you want to keep it sort of gentle? If you show the disappearing animal, then there's no longer any doubt about what happened, as there is with the first discussion.
We're into Val Luton, do you show the monster territory here. Okay, well, let's see if we get a bus. Act 1, Scene 2, old Seeley and Doughty enter.
Nay, but understand me, neighbour Doughty.
Good Master Seeley, I do understand you, and over understand you, that so much that I could e'en blush at your fondness. And had I a son to serve me so, I would conjure a devil out of him.
Alas, he is my child.
No, you are a child to live in fear of him. Indeed, they say old men become children again, but before I would become my child's child and make foot in my head, I would stand upon my head and kick my heels at the skies.
Gregory enters.
You do not know what an only son is. Well, see, he comes. Now, if you can appease his anger for me, you should do an act of timely charity.
It's an office that I am but weakly versed in, to plead to a son in the father's behalf. Bless me, what looks the devilish young rascal frights the poor man withal.
I wonder at your confidence, and how you dare appear before me.
A brave beginning.
Oh, son, be patient.
It is right reverend counsel. I thank you for it. I shall study patience, shall I? While you practice ways to beggar me, shall I?
Very handsome.
If I ever transgressed in the like again.
I've taken your word too often, sir, and neither can nor will forbear you longer.
What, not your father, Master Gregory?
What's that to you, sir?
Pray tell me then, sir, how many years has he to serve you?
What? Do you bring your spokesman now, your advocate? What fee goes out of my estate now for his oratory?
Come, I must tell you, you forget yourself, and in this foul, unnatural strife wherein you trample on your father, you are fallen below humanity. You are so beneath the title of a son, you cannot claim to be a man, and let me tell you, were you mine, thou shouldst not eat but on thy knees before me.
Oh, this is not the way. This is to raise impatience into fury. I do not seek his quiet for my ease. I can bear all his chidings and threats, and take them well, very exceeding well, and find they do me good, on my own part. Indeed, they do reclaim me from those errors that might impeach his fortunes. But I fear the unquiet strife within him hurts himself, and wastes or weakens nature by the breach of moderate sleep and diet. And I can no less than grieve to find my weaknesses to be the cause of his affliction, and see the danger of his health and being.
Alas, poor man, can you stand open-eyed or dry-eyed either at this now in a father?
Why, if it grieve you, you may look off on't. I have seen more than this twice 20 times, and have as often been deceived by his dissimulations. I can see nothing mended.
He is a happy sire that has brought up his son to this.
All shall be mended, son. Content yourself. But this time, forget but this last fault.
Yes, for a new one tomorrow.
Pray, Master Gregory, forget it. You see how submissive your poor penitent is. Forget it. Forget it. Put it out of your head. Knock it out of your brains. I protest, if my father, nay, if my father's dog should have said as much to me. I should have embraced him. What was the trespass? It could not be so heinous.
Well, sir, you now shall be a judge for all your jeering. Was it a fatherly part, think you, having a son, to offer to enter in bonds for his nephew, so to endanger my estate, to redeem his mortgage?
But I did it not, son.
I know it very well, but your dotage had done it if my care had not prevented it.
Is that the business? Why, if he had done it, had he not been sufficiently secured in having the mortgage made over to himself?
He does nothing but practice ways to undo himself and me. A very spendthrift, a prodigal sire. He was at the ale but the other day, and spent a 4-penny club.
She's gone and past, son.
Can you hold your peace, sir? And not long ago, at the wine, he spent his tester and twopence to the piper. That was brave, was it not?
True, we were civilly merry, but I have left it.
Ah, your civility, have you not? For no longer ago than last holiday evening, he gamed away 8 double-ringed tokens on a rubbers at bowls with the curate and some of his idle companions.
Why, Master Gregory Seeley, is this seemly in a son? You'll have a rod for the child your father shortly, I fear. Alas, did he make it cry? Give me a stroke, and I'll beat him. Bless me, they make me almost as mad as themselves.
'Twere good you would meddle with your own matters, sir.
Son!
Sir, as I am not beholden to you for house or land, for it has stood in the name of my ancestry, the Seeleys, above 200 years, so will I look you leave all as you found it.
Lawrence enters.
What is the matter? Can ye tell?
Ah, Lawrence, welcome. Thou wilt make all well, I am sure.
Yea, which way can ye tell? But what the foul evil doon ye? Here's a sickener din.
Art thou his man, fellow, huh? That talks thus to him.
Yea, sir, and what may yow of it? He maintains me to rule him, and I'll do it, or may the heart weary of the wimp on him.
This is quite upside down. The son controls the father, and the man overcrows his master's coxcomb. Surely they are all bewitched.
'Twas but so, truly, Lawrence. The peevish old man vexed me, for which I did my duty in telling him his own, and Master Doughty here maintains him against me.
I've forbidden yow to meddle with the old carl and let me alone with him. Yet yow still be at him. He served yow but weel to baste ye for it, and it was strong enough, but I saw foul with ye, and I swallow ye not savourly, may my girts brast.
Really good, Lawrence. Be gentle and do not fright thy master so.
Yea, at your command anon.
Enough, good Lawrence, you've said enough.
How trow yow that? A fine world where a man cannot be wired at hame for busy brain naples.
I know not what to say anything here. This cannot be but witchcraft.
Joan and Winny enter.
Cannot endure it, or I will not endure it.
Heyday, the daughter upon the mother too.
One of us two, choose you which, must leave the house. We are not to live together. I see that, but I will know if there be law in Lancashire for it, which is fit first to depart the house or the world, the mother or the daughter.
Daughter, I say.
Do you say the daughter? For that word I say the mother, unless you can prove me the eldest, as my discretion almost warranted. I say the mother shall out of the house, or take such courses in it as shall sort with such a house and such a daughter.
Daughter, I say I will take any course, so thou wilt leave thy passion. Indeed, it hurts thee, child. I'll sing and be merry, wear as fine clothes and as delicate dressings as thou wilt have me, so thou wilt pacify thyself and be at peace with me.
Or will you so? In so doing, I may chance to look upon you. Is this a fit habit for a handsome young gentlewoman's mother? As I hope to be a lady, you look like one of the Scottish wayward sisters. Oh, my heart has got the hiccup, and all looks green about me. A merry song now, mother, and thou shalt be my white girl.
She's overcome with joy at my conversation.
She is most evidently evilly bewitched.
And there is a song. Joan does not have to sing the song, but it's entirely up to you.
Oh, of course I'm going to. There was a deft lad, and a lass fell in love with a fa-la-la, lunty-town dilly. With a kissing and a toying, this maiden did prove, with a fa-la-la, lunty-town dilly. So wide i' the waist, and her belly so high, that unto her mother the maiden did cry, "Oh, Langtown dilly, oh, dilly down dilly, fie, dilly down, lily down." I just about made it to the end.
Yes, Parnel enters.
Thus was in your tone, and I were dead. But while I live, you fudge not on it. Is that all the work you can find?
Now comes the maid to set her mistresses to work.
Nay, prithee, sweet Parnel, I was but chiding the old wife for her unhandsomeness, and would have been at my work presently. She tells me how she will wear fine things, and I shall dress her head as I list.
Here's the house well governed.
Dress me no dressings, lesson I dress you both, and learn a new lesson with a wunion right now, sorry. And I've been a servant here this 6 years, and can I see you either than myself?
Nay,
Oh,
prithee,
nay, prithee, sweet Parnel,
Parnel,
content, and thank thee.
I have known this until very lately, as well governed a family as the country yields, and now what a nest of several humours it is grown, and all devilish ones. Sure, all the witches in the country have their hands in this homespun medley, and there be no few, 'tis thought.
Ye shall another time, but not now, I thank you. You shall as soon piss and paddle it as slap me in the mouth with an old petticoat. And you pair of shoon to be wet. I cannot be wet, nor I would not be wet to see sicky doings I.
Oh, thy prattle, Parnel. Oh, come it about a wee and a haddock. What's thou what, Parnel? What's thou what? Oh, dear, what's thou what?
What's the fond waxen wail, true I?
We had been in love these 3 years, and ever we had not enough. Now is it comed about that our love shall be at an end for ever and a day. For we mun wed, my honey, we mun wed.
What the devil has there, lubber down? Been thy brains broke now's try?
Thick a wadden was there never a Lancashire's ween couple at a Monday newst.
Well, seems you this sickly, or done you but join me?
I join thee not, nor flam thee not. 'Tis all as true as boot. Here's both our masters have consented and concluded, and our mistresses mun yield to it, to put our house and land and all they have into our hands.
Where?
And we mun marry and be master and dame of all.
Where?
And then be our sojourners, because they are weary of the world to live in friendliness and see what will come on't.
Where gone?
Nay, 'tis true, Parnel.
Here's both our hands on
it. Give you joy.
And
ours too.
And
it will be fine if fackins.
Whoa.
Here's a mad business towards.
I will bespeak the guests.
And I the meat.
I'll dress for dinner, though I drip my sweat.
My care shall sumptuous parlements provide.
And my best art shall trickly trim the bride.
Wow.
I'll get choice music for the merriment.
And I will wait with wonder the event.
Wow.
And they exit. Wah. Isn't that a line from the Duchess song in Alice in Wonderland?
I was thinking more like a wah pedal, but I mean,
yeah. Now, for the listeners at home, I think we should make it clear that a lot of this text is written in what we will loosely call dialect. So don't worry, they weren't having a stroke. It's fine. It's just that's how it's written. And I think some of it actually probably with a bit of work will function. But yes, I'm sure we have a lot to say about that. I think it's fair to say that the household is indeed a little disordered. The households are defined by certain stations and your place within a household, and all of those seem to be inverted in various interesting ways. Ways which may not be as clear to a modern audience as they would be to an early modern audience. But yeah, there is definitely a sense that the social order has ended up a bit wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Lynn, then Aliki.
Yeah, this whole passage is not only chronologically strange to me, it's also kind of culturally strange. I mean, I come from a culture where we are invested in a fiction that we're an egalitarian society. So this inversion of hierarchy doesn't land the same way. So things are really, really hard to sell if you produce this in the US. And I also wonder, even in a culture where the idea of hierarchy being the correct order, being sort of the way it ought to be, I still think the audience's reaction to this would have been really complex. In a way, it's really funny, the comedy yokels bossing their superiors around. I think it would also be very disturbing at the same time. Funny, but really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's there. I think that is part of what's going on there. That yeah, there is comedy, but there is also something is very wrong here. Aliki, then Lois.
So one part that rang very strongly for me, and I think would with any modern audience, is that the first section of that scene, the son abusing his father and the daughter abusing her mother, just reads straight up like elder abuse. I mean, I have actually heard circumstances where people say, oh, well, he's wasting all of my inheritance, for example, of an elder parent.
Are you a parent, Aliki?
I am a parent, but my son is 20 and still doesn't really think that way.
Oh, how lucky you are. How lucky you are.
So that was interesting and really uncomfortable for me. Less so the servant thing, partly because the dialect, so-called, was so difficult, but also I do notice that one set of circumstances one hierarchy isn't inverted. There is no question of the women running the show instead of the men.
That's interesting.
I think that's absolutely fair on that front. Lois.
Yeah, Brome wrote a whole play called The Antipodes, which is about the idea that the country which is directly under us or on the other side of the earth does everything exactly the opposite of the way we do it.
Not too many spoilers there.
Oh, yeah, right. But
it's a fair.
But I just wondered. I don't even know the order of the two plays, but it seems clear that one of them was so successful that they decided to use it in the other one anyway.
Yeah. But there's a wedding planned, so that's fine. We have this song, and yeah, that is that question of how disturbing we are supposed to find this, and how much of this is supposed to be funny, and can you flip-flop between the two? Because actually, I'm quite interested in scenes where we're not quite sure where we're supposed to take it. And that's quite interesting to me. And I think with a little bit of work, the sort of the accent work can make that come across not necessarily as inherently, hilarious because they're in dialect, but actually just doing something interesting about what accents are doing and understanding how accents functioned even then. The wah, I just find deeply disturbing. That's the sound. It's just there's something very odd about that. Greg.
I've heard this in the chat, and because I don't know Lancashire accent very well, I'm wondering, is she supposed to be possessed?
Well, here's the question: is the entire household possessed? I mean, that's sort of where we're going here. That nothing's quite right in this household.
Because I suddenly thought about it as I was doing it. I suddenly thought this feels very repetitious and possessive, but there's no hint. That's the reason I was a little bit confused, but maybe we'll get that hint later, and that is the case in this play. But
Eric.
Well, I was gonna say that could be a stim, like, for people who sort of not necessarily. I don't know if it's exclusively autistic, but I mean, like people who sort of find comfort in a repetitive sort of drone type thing, where they just kind of repeat a word to themselves for comfort rather than anything else, because of the trauma of their experiences. I don't know just what kind of trauma Parnel would have undergone, but it just feels kind of like divorced from the rest of the sort of play, I guess.
Susan, then we must move on.
I would really like to rehearse that and try and do it without laughing our heads off, because I think it's terribly interesting. It would be a really good exercise with actors to do that, and almost like some kind of orchestrated thing. And whether you could ever get through it as a performer without laughing, I'm sure
there'll be a rehearsal specifically to drain that out of everybody's system. That's that. But then again, as I say, it's this question of what is the effect that you're looking to play here. What are you trying to get from the audience? There is, is it funny or is it disturbing or is it both? And can you spin between those two? And again, I think it will be easier once we got a bit more into the text to actually figure out what tone palette that we're trying to play with here, because I genuinely don't know yet, because this is feeling, this very folk horror of just going, I don't know where to place any of this at the moment. And that's pleasing, because that gives us room for play and give. Okay, Act 2, Scene 1. We have 4 witches who enter severally. So take it away, witches.
Ho, ho, well met, well met.
What new device, what dainty strain, more for our mirth now than our gain, shall we in practice put?
Nay, dame, before we play another game, we must a little laugh and thank our feet familiars for the prank they played us last night.
Oh, they will miss us in our next plot, if for this they find not their reward.
'Tis right.
Therefore sing, Maud, and call each sprite. Come away and take thy Doughty.
I'm sorry. Come, Morsey, come, Puckling, and come, my sweet suckling, my pretty mammalian, my joy. Fall each to his Doughty, while kindly we hug ye as tender and a sober boy. Then suck our bloods freely, and with it be jolly, while merrily we sing. Hey, trolley, lolly, we dandle and clip ye, we stroke ye and leap ye, and all that we have is your due. The feats you do for us, and those which you store us, with all ties us only to you. Then suck our bloods freely, and with it be jolly, while merrily we sing. Hey, trolley, lolly.
And the 4 spirits enter.
Come, my mammalian, like a puggy.
And come, my Puckling, take thy teat. Your travels have deserved your meat.
Now upon the churl's ground, on which we're met, let's dance around, that cockle darnel poppy a wild, choke his grain and fill the field.
The witches and familiar spirits dance.
Now spirits fly away about the task that we projected in our mask.
The spirits exit.
Now let us laugh to think upon the feat which we have so lately done. In the distraction we have set in Seeley's house, shall beget wonder and sorrow amongst our foes, while we make laughter of their woes. I can but laugh now to foresee the fruits of their perplexity.
Of Seeley's family?
Aye, the father to the son doth cry, the son rebukes the father old, the daughter the mother scold, the wife the husband check and chide. But that's no wonder through the wide world, 'tis common.
But to be short, the wedding must bring on the sport. Betwixt the harebrained man and maid, master and dame that oversway.
Enough! Our sides are charmed, or else this stuff would laughter crack them. Let's away about the jig. We dance today to spoil the hunter's sport.
Aye, that be now the subject of our chat.
Then list ye well. The hunters are this day by vow to kill a hare, or else the sport they will forswear, and hang their dogs up.
Stay! But where must the long-threatened hare be found?
They'll search in yonder meadow ground.
There will I be, and like a wily watts, until they put me up, squat.
Aye, and my puckling will a brace of greyhounds be, fit for the race, and linger where we may be ta'en up for the course in the by-lane. Then will we lead their dogs a course at every man and every horse, until they break their necks and say,
The devil undone is rid this way!
All the doubt can be but this, that if by chance of me they miss, and start another hare,
then we'll not run, but find some way how to be gone. I shall know thee, Peg, by thy grizzled guts.
and I you, Gillian, by your gaunt thin gut. Where will Maud bestow herself today?
On the steeple top! I'll sit and see you play.
And they exit. Thing like that, it'll have been suckled, you know. Human suckling to set it to work.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is it's a very English witch thing. The whole imps and familiars, specifically the suckling. It's not quite a detail that turns up quite so much in Europe, I believe. I'm saying this off the top of my head, but I have been looking into such things of late. It's the time of year. The
Hieronymus Bosch?
No. Just in sort of witch finding, there's very much, this is the kind of thing that comes out of discourse, and out of people's arraignments and the things that they confess is very much this thing to do with familiars, creatures, and that's where the whole hunting for witch marks and things is about. It's about this place where your familiar will suckle from. So this is all coming from the kind of discourse that is genuine and live. Just to be a horrible killjoy here because everyone's having so much fun. But this is the kind of discourse that in 10 years' time will allow people like Matthew Hopkins to roam through East Anglia, and be this will be a very common retort of things that is going on. Aliki.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I was going to ask what relation this has to the witch frenzy of that century, and this is in between the Lancashire witch trials and the Matthew Hopkins kind of witchfinder general stuff.
Yes, that's. I mean, and in that sense, it is complicated, and we should be a bit careful about generalizations here. But in a sense, there isn't that much. Witch hunting sort of goes through mini waves, and it's not as widespread as you'd think it is in England. Certainly, once we're into the Civil War, Matthew Hopkins and fellows basically ride roughshod over common legal practice because of the situation where they can, and so you're seeing something where this is perhaps the cultural lead up to that moment, and that comes about. But again,
right,
it's a much more nuanced and complicated picture.
Sure, and the full religious upheaval isn't there yet. I get that.
I mean, it's not unknown and it's not uncommon, but often witch trials end up with acquittal because the law really actually isn't the hurdles you have to jump through are actually quite complex. Anyway, Greg.
I was just going to say, unless I misinterpreted, I think we're now right about what we said about the Seeley household. The previous scene. I didn't quite expect it to be confirmed that quickly, but that line about the Seeley house putting whatever they said about putting something disjointed in or something, that they created havoc there. I always thought was very fun, and it was nice because the last scene we thought it might be, but it was lovely to have it confirmed that quickly, and it poured Parnel. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. In this universe that we're having here, the witches are real. They have active powers, and they cackle and sing songs, and they have a genuine effect, and that is the world of the play. We need to move on and pick up some more data. Act 2, Scene 2, enter Generous, Arthur, Bantam, Shakestone, and Whetstone.
At meeting and at parting, gentlemen, I only make use of that general word so frequent at all feasts, and that but once. You're welcome. You are so, all of you, and I entreat you, take notice of that special business betwixt this gentleman, my friend, and I, about the mortgage, to which, writings drawn, your hands are witness.
We acknowledge it.
My hand is there too, for a man cannot set to his mark, but I may be called his hand. I am a gentleman both ways, and I had been held that it is the part of a gentleman to write a scurvy hand.
You write, sir, like yourself.
Pray take no notice of his ignorance. You know what I foretold you.
'Tis confessed, but for that word by you so seldom spoke, by us so freely on your part performed, we hold us much engaged.
I pray no compliment. It is a thing I do not use myself, nor do I love in others.
For my part, could I at once dissolve myself to words, and after turn them into matter, such and of that strength as to attract the attention of all the curious and most itching ears of this our critic age, it could not make a theme amounting to your noble worth. You seem to me to supererogate, supplying the defects of all your kindred to ennoble your own name. I have done, sir.
Hey, this gentleman speaks like a country parson that had took his text out of Metamorphosis.
Sir, you hyperbolize, and I could chide you for it, but whilst you connive at this, my kinsman, I shall wink at you. 'Twill prove an equal match.
Your name proclaims to be such as it speaks you. Generous.
Still in that strain.
Sir, so while you persever to be good, I must continue grateful.
Gentlemen, the greatest part of this day, you see, is spent in reading deeds, conveyancing, and bonds, with sealing and subscribing. Will you now take part of a bad supper?
We are like travellers, and where such bait they do not use to inn. Our love and service to you.
The first I accept, the last I entertain not. Farewell, gentlemen.
We'll try if we can find in our way home, when hares come from their coverts to relieve, a course or two.
Say you so, gentlemen? Nay then, I am for your company still. 'Tis said hares are like hermaphrodites, one while male and another female, and that which begets this year begins young ones the next, which some think to be the reason that witches take their shape so oft. Nay, if I lie, Pliny lies too. But come now, I have light upon you. I cannot so lightly leave you. Farewell, uncle.
Cousin, I wish you would consort yourself with such men ever, and make them your precedent for a more gentle carriage.
Good Master Generous.
They exit. Generous remains on stage.
Robin.
And Robin/Robert enters.
Sir.
Go call your mistress hither.
My mistress, sir. I do call her my mistress, as I do call you master, but if you would have me call my mistress to my master, I may call loud enough before she can hear me.
Why, she's not deaf, I hope. I'm sure since dinner she had her hearing perfect.
And so she may have at supper too, for all I know, but I can assure you she's not now within my call.
Oh, Sirrah, you trifle. Give me the key of the stable. I will go see my gelding. In the meantime, go seek her out. Say she shall find me there.
To tell you true, sir, I shall find neither my mistress here nor you, your gelding, there.
Ah, how comes that to pass?
Whilst you were busy about your writings, she came and commanded me to saddle your beast and said she would ride abroad to take the air.
Which of your fellows did she take along to wait on her?
None, sir.
None. Hath she used it often?
Oftener, I'm sure, than she goes to church and leaves out Wednesdays and Fridays.
And still alone?
If you call that alone, when nobody rides in her company.
But what times hath she sorted for these journeys?
Only when you're abroad, and sometimes when you're full of business at home.
To ride out often and alone? What saith she when she takes horse and at her back return?
Only conjures me that I shall keep it from you, then claps me in the fist with some small pieces of silver, and then a fish cannot be more silent than I.
I know her a good woman and well bred, of an unquestioned carriage, well reputed amongst her neighbours, reckoned with the best, and nor me most indulgent, though in many such things might breed a doubt and jealousy, yet I hatch no such frenzy. Yet, to prevent the smallest jar that might betwixt us happen, give her no notice that I know thus much. Besides, I charge thee, when she craves him next, he be denied. If she be vexed or moved, do not thou fear. I'll interpose myself betwixt thee and her anger. As you tender your duty and my service, see this done.
Now you've expressed your mind, I know what I have to do. First, not to tell her what I've told you, and next to keep her side saddle from coming up on your gelding's back. But howsoever is it like to hinder me of many a round tester?
As oft as thou deniest her, so oft claim that tester from me. I shall be roundly paid.
And you say well in that, sir. I dare take your word. You're an honest gentleman and my master, and now take mine as I am your true servant. Before she shall back your gelding again in your absence, while I have charge of his keeping, she shall ride me, or I'll ride her.
So much for that. Sirrah, my butler tells me my cellar is drunk dry. I mean, those bottles of sack and claret are all empty grown. And I have guests tomorrow, my choice friends. Take the grey nag in the stable, and those bottles fill at Lancaster, there where you used to fetch it.
Good news for me. I shall, sir.
Oh, Robin, it comes short of that pure liquor we drunk last term in London, at the Mitre in Fleet Street. Thou rememberest it? Methought it was the very spirit of the grape, mere quintessence of wine.
Yes, sir, so I remember it. Most certain it is. I shall never forget it. My mouth waters ever since when I but thank on it. Whilst you were at supper above, the drawer had me down into the cellar below. I know the way in again if I see it, but at that time, to find the way out again, I had the help of more eyes than mine own. Is the taste of that estate still in your palace, sir?
What then? But vain are wishes. Take those bottles and see them filled where I command you, sir.
I shall. Never could I have met with such a fair opportunity, for just in the midway lies my sweetheart, as lovely a lass as any in Lancashire, and kisses as sweetly. Whilst you're coming or going, I'll have a smooch at thy lips, and be with thee to bring Mole Spencer.
Go, hasten your return.
Exit Robin.
What he hath told me touching my wife is somewhat strange. No matter. Be it as it will, it shall not trouble me. She hath not lain so long, so near my side, that now I should be jealous.
A soldier enters.
You seem, sir, a gentleman of quality. and no doubt that in your youth have been acquainted with affairs military. In your very looks there appears bounty, and in your person humanity. Please you to vouchsafe the tender of some small courtesy to help to bear a soldier into his country.
Though I could tax you, friend, and justly too, for begging 'gainst the statute of that name, yet I have ever been of that compassion where I see want rather to pity it than to use power. Where hast thou served?
With the Russian against the Polak, heavy war, and hath brought me to this hard fate. I was took prisoner by the Pole, and after some few weeks' durance, got both my freedom and pass. Have it about me to show. Please you to vouchsafe the perusal.
Shall not need. What countryman?
Yorkshire, sir. Many a sharp battle by land, and many a sharp storm at sea. Many a long mile, and many a short meal. I have travelled and suffered ere I could reach thus far. I beseech you, sir, take my poor and wretched case into your worship's noble consideration.
Perhaps thou lovest this wandering life, to be an idle, loitering beggar, than to eat of thine own labour?
Aye, sir. Loitering I defy, sir. I hate laziness as I do leprosy. It's the next way to breed the scurvy. Beat a hedge, ditch, plough, thresh, dig, delve, anything. Your worship find that I love nothing less than loitering.
Friend, thou speakest well.
The miller enters, hands and face scratched and bloody.
Your mill, quoth he. If ever you take me in your mill again, I'll give you leave to cast my flesh to the dogs and grind my bones to powder betwixt the millstones. Cats, you do call them. For their hugeness, they might be cat mountains, or for their claws. I think I have it here in red and white to show. I pray, look here, sir. Murren take 'em, I'll be sworn they have scratched where I am sure it itched not.
How camest thou in this pickle?
You see, sir. And what you see, I have felt, and I am come to give you to understand. I'll not endure such another night if you would give me your mill for nothing. They say we millers are thieves, but I could as soon be hanged, one piece of a nap all the night long. Good landlord, provide yourself for the new tenant. The noise of such caterwauling and such scratching and clawing before I would endure again. I'll be tied to the sail when the wind blows sharpest and they fly swiftest, till I be torn into as many fitters as I have toes and fingers.
I was a miller myself before I was a soldier. What? One of my own trade should be so poorly spirited, frighted with cats? Sir, trust me with the mill that he forsakes. Here is a blade that hangs upon his belt, that, spite of all these rats, cats, weasels, witches, or dogs, or devils, so conjure them, I'll quiet my possession.
Well spoke, soldier. I like thy resolution. Fellow, you then have given the mill quite over.
Over and over. Here I utterly renounce it, nor would I stay in it longer if you would give me your whole estate. Nay, if I say it, you may take my word, man.
I pray, sir, dare you trust your mill with me?
I dare, but I am loath. My reasons these. For many months scarce anyone hath lain there, but have been strangely frighted in his sleep, or from his warm bed drawn into the floor, or clawed and scratched, as thou seest this poor man, so much that it stood long untenanted till he late undertook it. Now thine eyes witness how he hath sped.
Give me the keys. I'll stand it all danger.
'Tis a match. Deliver them.
I marry with all my heart, and I'm glad I'm so rid of him.
And they exit. Okay, hey, the spooky old mill. Strange things going on there. You wouldn't want to take that on, would you? Yes, obviously you would. So retired soldier takes possession of spooky house. It still was old man Withers in the amusement park. A lot of things going on in this scene. We have these quite long scenes that sort of give us, the wedding's coming up. There's all that sort of business at the beginning. And then this very odd little exchange between Generous and Robert, which is actually quite difficult to pick up all of the stuff that's being put in place there. But I mean, Robin's got his opportunity to go off and canoodle, so he's going to get a bit of smooch time, which is nice. Susan.
Yes, smooch. Wasn't that funny? I mean, sometimes these words pop out and you think that's from the 1950s in my head. You know, wow, how fabulous. I loved smooch and I loved unquestioned carriage. I'd like that to be used as a compliment to us all at certain times.
And
he has unquestioned carriage. Isn't that good?
Yeah. And there's lots of lovely bits. I mean, the miller, it really annoyed cats, do you call them? They might be Catter Mountains for their claws. I mean, it's like going, there's a bloody tiger in there, mate. It's not a cat. So again, I'm finding this the effect of this is really weird. I'm finding, because it is both funny and also quite disturbing at the same time. And I'm really liking what that's doing. The folk horror vibes of this is really, really playing nicely with me. I'm really interested in that. Strange things have almost become normal here. It's like you've sort of you get used to anything in time. And actually the strangenesses just seem to be endemic here. Oh yeah, the mill's haunted, and there's this, and there's super fast horses, and there's all sorts of strange things going on here. So yeah, I don't know if enjoying is the right word. It's
Right.
fascinating. I'm really, really engaged in what's going on here. Even though there's part of me back of my mind going, well, it's sort of based on a real thing, so that makes me feel a bit awkward, but not really actually that much at the moment. Lois.
Yeah, I'm just impressed really with the skill of the dramatists. I mean, they've got all these different plots that seem to be kept in balance quite nicely. I mean, the whole question of what's going out on the hunt, Mr. Generous's wife, this legal thing, whatever it is, which is rather hard to understand, this what's going on in the Seeley household. And, I mean, there's just so much different stuff, which is all connected because all these people know each other and are sort of related to each other, either in person or through financial arrangements or something. It's really very well done.
Yeah, and and again, this sort of extended community. We've got a miller. We've got people down on their luck passing through. You've got all sorts of okay, the working class figures aren't exactly coming across brilliantly, but it is painting a community in an interesting light here, and it is scattering all these threads. But I do hope they all get tangled in an agreeable way rather than what, which is always possible. Eric, and then we must move on.
I think this is a thing that we've noticed with Thomas Heywood before, but I guess I should mention it again. But even his small characters are kind of like sort of one scene kind of characters, have sort of inner life that sort of. I mean, Robin it is probably not going to appear again. I'm assuming. I don't know if he does, but
oh yes, no, he does. He does.
Oh, that's comforting. But I mean, he doesn't seem like sort of someone that will drive a lot of plot along, and still he's kind of got this whole thing going on about that he gets to see his sweetheart outside of Lancashire and all that stuff. So I don't know, it's nice. He has thoughts and dreams of his own.
Okay, we're going to go into Act 2, Scene 3. A boy with a switch enters.
Oh, I have gathered bullies and filled my belly pretty well. I'll go see some sport. There are gentlemen coursing in the meadow here hard by, and 'tis a game that I love better than going to school. 10 to 1.
An invisible spirit enters with a brace of greyhounds.
What have we here? A brace of greyhounds broke loose from their masters? I must needs be so, for they are both their collars and slips about their necks. Now I look better upon them, methinks I should know them. And so I do. These are Master Robinson's dogs that dwell some 2 miles off. I'll take them up and lead them home to their master. I may be something in my way, for he is as liberal a gentleman as any in our country. Come, Hector, come. Now, if I could but start a hare by the way, kill her and carry her home to my supper, I should think I had made a better afternoon's work than if I gathering of bullies. Come, poor curs, along with me.
He exits. Act 2, Scene 4. Arthur, Bantam's Shakestone and Whetstone enter.
My dog is yours.
For what?
A piece.
'Tis done.
I say the pied dog shall outstrip the brown.
And I'll take the brown dog's part against the pied.
Yes, when he's at his lap, you'll take his part.
Bantam, forbear him, prithee.
He talks so like an ass. I have no patience to endure his nonsense. I'm sorry, that was somebody else's line.
Oh, he talks so like an ass. I have not the patience to endure his nonsense.
The brown dog for 2 pieces.
Of what?
Of what? You dare? Come then, from the last farthings with the double rings to the late coined pieces, which they say are all counterfeit.
Well, sir, I take you. Will you cover these? Give them into the hands of either of these 2 gentlemen?
What needs that? Do you think my word or my money is not all one?
And weigh alike, both of many grains too light.
Enough of that. I presume, Master West, you are not ignorant what belongs to the sport of hunting?
I think I have reason, for I have been at the death of more hares than...
More than you shed the last fall of the leaf.
More than any man here, I am sure. I should be loath to, at these years, to be ignorant of herring or whoring. I knew a hare close hunted climb a tree to
Find out birds' nests.
Another leap into a river. Nothing appeared above water, save only the tip of her nose to take breath.
Nay, that's very likely, for no man can fish with an angle, but his line must be made of hair.
You say right. I knew another who, to escape the dogs, hath taken a house and leaped in at a window.
He just thought you came into the world that way.
How mean you that?
Because you are a bastard.
Bastard? Oh, base.
And thou art base all over.
Needs must I now condemn your indiscretion to set your wit against his?
Bastard? What shall be tried? Well, gentlemen, concerning hare hunting, you might have heard more, if I had had the grace to have said less. But for the word bastard, if I do not tell my uncle, I, and my aunt too, either when I should speak aught, or go off the score for anything, let me never be trusted. They are older than I, and what know I but they might be by when I was begot? But if thou, Bantam, does not hear of this with both thine ears, if thou hast then them still and not lost them by scribbling, instead of Whetstone, call me Grindstone, and for that byblow Bullfinch. Gentlemen, for 2 of you, your company is fair and honest, but for you, Bantam, remember and take notice also that I am a bastard, and so much I'll testify to my aunt and uncle.
He exits.
What have you done? 'Twill grieve the good old gentleman to hear him baffled thus.
I was in a cold sweat ready to faint the time he stayed among us.
But come, now the hare is found and started, she shall have law. So, to our sport?
They exit. Act 2, Scene 5. Enter Boy with the Greyhounds.
A hare, a hare, halloo, halloo. The devil take those curs. Will they not stir? Halloo, halloo. There, there, there. What, are they grown so lither and so lazy? Are Master Robinson's dog turned tykes with a wanton? The hare is yet in sight. Halloo, halloo. Marry, hang you for a couple of mongrels, if you were worth hanging. And have you served me thus? Nay then, I'll serve you with the like sauce. you shall to the next bush, and there will I tie you and use you like a couple of curs as you are. And though not lash you, yet lash you with my switch will hold. Nay, since you have left your speed, I'll see if I can put spirit into you and put you remembrance that halloo, halloo means.
As he beats them, there appears before him Goody, Dickieson, and upon the boys going in, the boy says,
Now, bless me heaven, one of the greyhounds turned into a woman, the other into a boy. Oh, the lad I never saw before, but her I know well. It is my Grandma Dickieson.
Sirrah, you have used me well to swinge me thus, you young rogue. You have used me like a dog.
When you had put yourself into a dog's skin, I pray, how could I help it? But, Grandma, are not you a witch? If you be, I beg upon my knees, you will not hurt me.
Stand up, my boy, for thou shalt have no harm. Be silent. Speak of nothing thou hast seen, and here's a shilling for thee.
Oh, I'll have none of your money, Grandma, because you are a witch. And now she is out of her four-legged shape. I'll see my two legs. I can outrun her.
he runs as fast as he can, but he doesn't go very far.
Dickieson, no.
Dickieson, I think that's Dickison's line there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nay, sirrah, though you be young and I old, you are not so nimble, nor I so lame, but I can overtake you.
But Grandma, what do you mean to do with me? Now you have me.
To hug thee, stroke thee, and embrace thee, and teach thee 20,000 pretty things, so thou tell no tales. And boy, this night thou must along with me to a brave feast.
Not I, Grandma, indeed. I dare not stay out late. My father is a fell man, and if I be out long, he will both chide and beat me.
Not, sirrah, then perforce thou shalt along. With this bridle helps me still at need, and shall provide us of a steed. Now, sirrah, take your shape and be prepared to hurry him and me.
Boy exits.
Now look and tell me, where's the lad become?
The boy is vanished, and I can see nothing in his stead but a white horse, ready, saddled and bridled.
And that's the horse we must bestride, on which both thou and I must ride. Thou, boy, before, and I behind. The earth we tread not, but the wind. For we must progress through the air, and bring thee to such fare as thou ne'er saw'st. Up and away. For now no longer we can stay.
And she catches him up, turns around, and exits. Boy crying. And exit, and end of sequence. Okay, some confused stage directions and errors there, but the general shape of she's pretending to be a greyhound, she stops pretending to be a greyhound, she turns the boy into a dog. So that's quite disturbing, because it's a boy. In the midst of which we have once again this low-level bullying going on, which once again also just slightly oversteps the mark. Bantam cannot seem to avoid being rude and bringing up Whetstone's alleged bastardy. So yeah, a really, really awkward social moment there. So yeah, lots of little questions about the tidiness, precisely what's going on here, and how it all precisely flows. Lois.
Yeah, there's a very odd thing in Whetstone's line to Bantam. If thou, Bantam, dost not hear of this with both thine ears, if thou hast them still and hath not lost them by scribbling, that sounds like a reference to, well, William Prynne, for example, whose ears were supposed to be cut off for writing against women actors as notorious whores at a time when Henrietta Maria had just been performing in a play at court. And I don't know if that's what he means, but it seems like a very odd thing to bring in. Is Bantam supposed to be some sort of writer, a satirist? And if not, what's this doing here?
Yeah, I do not know off the top of my head.
I
But
think,
yes, the thing we're looking for cuts, so 'cause
yeah,
it's a long
that was,
play.
yeah.
Um,
And I
but
think the
yeah,
boy turned into a horse, hasn't he? I mean, they're riding him now.
yeah, it's yeah. I'm slightly yeah, the boy turning into a horse
Yeah.
and going off. So it's a little confused because of there is definitely some errors in that sequence which I haven't tidied up. Aliki.
I thought it was the other boy, the boy who had been a greyhound with the witch, turned into a horse. Because the other boy says the boy has vanished, and then the boy says help,
Well,
help.
that's
Surely a horse can't say help, help.
I'm uncertain about that whole little sequence about who's saying that bit there,
Okay.
and how that bit works. So at the moment, I'm just going to say I think there's just something slightly wrong in the
Okay.
text, and we'll worry about that later. But in the sense that people are transforming to and from animals, I love the way Goody Dickieson says, "You didn't see anything. Here's a shilling." And yeah, so there's something interesting going on there. It is really creepy, and this is the thing, is again, this play is wrong-footing us with comedy, but also it's interesting. The comedy with Whetstone has turned nasty, but not in a horrible. It's quite a believable nasty in the sense that it's these people, they're doing banter, and then one of them goes too far and actually hurts someone, and it's not very pleasant. And that's interesting. That's a dramatic choice. It's not just, oh, here are some arseholes being, there's something interesting happening. And I wonder if that's good. I hope that leads to something. If it's just a bit of social detail or something that's playing out, I'll be, yeah. But as
Cuttable then. So,
but which is potentially cuttable, or at least, but what do you do with that? But this is a society where even before the witches are coming in, there are things that are happening slightly outside of what is considered, good practice. There are people being born out of wedlock. There are, there are social interactions that are, so it's doing something interesting here, and I'm really interested in what he's doing. Eric.
I'm just curious how they would have pulled off the transformation, because obviously, we can do it nowadays with CGI, or just disappearing someone behind a curtain and suddenly they appear as a horse or something, or puppetry, which they could have done back then. But it's just fascinating to think about how you would stage this scene. Just a human being turning into a dog, or a dog turning into a human being,
and into how yeah.
I mean, into those silhouette things.
Mm.
They've been around forever, haven't they?
But yeah, precisely how it was done, as
Right.
opposed to how we would do it, is a genuinely interesting question. Okay, we have one more scene to look at in this session as we complete Act 2. Act 2, Scene 6. Enter Robin/Robert and Moll.
Thanks, my sweet Moll, for thy courteous entertainment, thy cream, thy cheesecakes, and every good thing. This for all.
And kisses her.
Ah, but why in such haste, good Robin?
I confess my stay with thee is sweet to me, but I must spur the faster for it to be at home in the morning. I have yet to Lancaster to ride tonight, and this my bandolier bottles to fill tonight, and then half a score mile to ride by currycomb time in the morning, or the old man chides me.
Ah, he shall not chide thee, fear it not.
Pray Bacchus, I may please him with his wine, which will be the hardest thing to do, for since he was lost at London and tasted the divinity of the mitre, scarce any liquor in Lancashire will go down with him. Sure, he will never be a Puritan, he holds so well with the mitre.
Well, Robert, I find your love by your haste from me. I'll undertake you shall be at Lancaster and twice as far, and yet at home time enough, and be ruled by me.
Thou art a witty rogue, and thinkst to make me believe anything, because I saw thee make thy broom sweep the house without hands t'other day.
Oh, you shall see more than that presently, because you shall believe me. You know the house is all abed here, and I dare not be missed in the morning. Besides, I must be at the wedding of Lawrence and Parnel tomorrow.
Hi, your old sweetheart, Lawrence. Old love will not be forgotten.
I care not for the loss of him, but if I fit him not, hang me. But to the point, if I go with you tonight and help you to as good wine as your master desires, and you keep your time with him, you will give me a pint for my company?
Thy belly full, wench.
I'll but take up my milk pail and leave it in the field till our coming back in the morning, and we'll away.
Go fetch it quickly, then.
No, Robert, rather than leave your company so long, it shall come to me.
I would but see that.
The pail goes.
Look yonder. What do you think on't?
Right, it comes, and I do think there's so much of the devil in it as will turn all the milk shall come in it these 7 years and make it burn too, till it stink worse than the proverb of the bishop's foot.
Look you, sir, here I have it. Will you get up and away?
My horse is gone. Nay, prithee, Mo, thou hast set him away. Leave thy roguery.
And look again.
There stands a black, long-sided jade. Mine was a trust grey.
Yours was too short to carry double such a journey. Get up, I say. You shall have your own again in the morning.
Nay, but...
Nay, and you stand butting now. I'll leave you to look your horse. Hail, on afore to the field, and stay till I come.
And the pail
Come away.
presumably exits.
Come away, then. Hey, for Lancaster. Stand up.
They exit. Now, is this the transformed horse? Magical horse, flying pails. Magical pails are bibbidi bobbidi boo. So yeah, we're getting all sorts of odd goings on, which again seem to just be normal. Everyone's going magic's happening here, so everyone can do magic. Is it? What's going on? Strange things are occurring. And that's the end of Act 2. So, yeah, as this play goes on, less and less normal things are happening. It's like the rate of magical incidences are increasing. I'm assuming that the pail of milk is on a fishing rod, and it's I mean, how you do that? There are lots of ways of doing that. A big string strung across the theatre, and it can just sort of. There are winches and pulleys and systems. Hell, you can power it by fireworks if you want. I know how that's done. So I'd love to see that rocket propelled pail. So yeah, this play is asking a lot of your theatre mechanics. It's asking a lot of your actors. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and it's fiddly and complicated, but I'm still compelled. I'm not wholly sure what's always going on at certain points. I suspect in the staging that would all be fine and come out, but I think partly it's because they're mentioning someone that we've met earlier, and and I often slightly forget who they're talking about when they're talking about people who are off stage. But yeah, it's holding my attention even if I'm not fully following what's going on. I mean, whether we're going into full blood on Satan's claw direction for this text or not, I don't know. It doesn't feel quite that sinister. I mean, it's sinister in the sense that it's really discombobulating for everyone, but nobody seems to be killing people yet. It's just about transformations, distortions of the norm. Everything's a bit upside down. Susan?
I think puppets is the way to go. Puppets can be really quite strange in how you think they can become so real. There's at least 3 plays on at the moment in London with puppets that are extraordinary, aren't they? I had puppets and shadow puppets. Spooky, very good.
And I love the way you say immediately leap towards puppets, because it does seem that one of the hinterlands for this text is as a puppet show. That isn't confirmed, but I think it's the suggestion that later on elements of this are adapted for puppets. Now, maybe it's simply because it's just full of things like this where you're going, it's easier to do it with puppets, man. It's so much easier.
It's
and
because
that's
in some ways we think of puppets as being benign and childlike, but they can be absolutely terrifying as well, can't they?
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to turn someone from a greyhound into a person, puppets can do it a lot easier than we can, and a lot more convincingly. Okay, final thoughts around the room. We're over the third of the way through, actually. I packed a lot of text in to this session, try and get ahead a bit. We don't have to come to any final conclusions, but yeah, any final thoughts anyone wants to throw in about what this text is throwing at you? Eric, then Lynn, and then Sarah.
Well, this sequence, I like, especially the last sequence with the pail and all that stuff. It reminded me a bit of, I think it's the Sword in the Stone, which is like this really weird animation where you've got like Merlin. Well, I say weird animation because you don't really get the traditional Excalibur story. You get Excalibur is in the background of the story, but with King Arthur and all that. But it's more sort of, the whole fun of it is basically Merlin trying to pack his bags using magic, and of course nothing really works when you try to use it while doing other things. And that's what this made me think of. It's just kind of like, he tries to get everything to sort of obey him musically, and it just kind of collides and blows up in his face, basically. Or it's similar to Fantasia there, that like that kind of vibe, which is sort of that's what this scene put me in mind of. But I obviously the rest of it is entirely sort of not like that. But I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun to read it and fun to sort of I assume perform it, despite the sort of more uncomfortable abuse narratives in there, which is kind of interesting, and that you would be able to rehearse properly as well if you were doing a proper production.
Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, like Lois, I'm impressed by the dramaturgy about by the way the story builds that sense of the uncanny. Aliki used that word, and I think it's the perfect word. So it. In the first scene, that hair just disappeared, and they're like, "Oh, we just didn't see what happened. That it's fine. People keep saying, "I don't believe in witches. It's fine. It's fine." And then we have other scenes where I can see actual witches. So yeah, the way it's sort of building that sense of discomfort and the uncanny, and is this. I keep thinking of The Witch of Edmonton. Which is, I don't know, a little more than a decade before this, where the witch is a real person, but she's a human being who is suspected of witchcraft before she's guilty of it. And it's just like, well, if everybody's going to accuse me of being a witch, I may as well be one and then get my revenge on them. So, I mean, it's sort of a critique of the nastiness of society. The knight who impregnates his servant doesn't really get punished commensurate with his moral turpitude, and this is different because most people seem really basically decent, unlike in The Witch, where so many characters were corrupt. But I do keep thinking of that, and the familiar in that is a dog, and we don't know how they did the dog. The dog talks. Is it a person in a dog suit? Is it a trained dog where they've been ventriloquized? Like what? And here there's like a lot we don't know how those effects were achieved. But this society was definitely interested in witches. They can't seem to leave that topic alone. So I'm really curious.
Well, and I say the major difference with the Witch of Edmonton, as you were saying, she's just someone who just calls on the devil, and the devil appears in the shape of a dog. Whereas these witches, they feel like they've got a union. These are organized. These are people who have studied, or it's in the family on some level. It's a much wider witch community and the witch by Thomas Middleton similar to that as well. Whereas Witch of Edmonton is much more about social comment. You drive someone to calling on the devil, and the devil will appear, and it's a very common element of talking about demons and witches, and you don't need to know anything about practical magic, as it were. You just need to call up someone like that. Sarah, then Aliki.
Yeah, you just pretty much mentioned what I was going to say. This is a whole world. There's a lot of world building going on here, and I think that is what makes it so eerie. And uncomfortable. This isn't a lone figure. This is a whole world, and because it's been built so well, and the community's established, and actually the two communities are established, the sort of normal world in inverted commas, and then the witch world. It gives it an atmosphere. It weights it in a way that some of the other witch plays that we've read, they were uncanny, but this has definitely got a very, very eerie quality to it. I'm really interested in how you could stage this for a modern audience. I mentioned video projections right at the beginning. I think that could be one really good way of doing it, as long as they were used judiciously. I think you could create something that would actually make the hairs stand up on the back of the neck for your audience. The other thing that is just really another way I would love to stage this would be outside. And I don't know if that's because I've got a whole 1980s ITV Robin of Sherwood kind of Herne the Hunter thing going on in the background.
I was really wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah. But because that was really rubbish, but in quite an eerie way, for its time. Yeah,
strongly.
I mean,
very well made television series.
When I watched that, when I was, a kid, I was just absolutely gripped by that, and I'm sort of gripped by this in the same way. And the thing that really gripped me were all the kind of scenes in the forest with the dude with the antlers, and I just wonder if you could do this. I mean, I know the effects would be difficult to manage outside, but it would just be amazing to see an outdoor production of this, where actually, the witches came out of the wood, and did their dancing, and kind of then merged back into the undergrowth, and sort of people appeared. And
so far, these are not spectacular effects.
Yeah, I just think it could be amazing.
You could do it outside. You'd have to be very careful, but that idea of effectively building traps and hides where people can disappear and come in and come out, I think that's doable, actually, and that seems plausible. I'll go to Aliki and then Lois. I'm going to dip out of the room for a second, so Aliki, hand over to Lois.
Okay, so I've got quite a lot of things to say, so let me see if I can get them in order in my head. So the first one comes just straight up as a response to Sarah, which is that, in Lancaster, the Duke's Theatre is famous for its outdoor productions, which they do in the park there. And you'd have to be very careful with the advertising, because those are historically sweet, family-friendly shows. But I mean, they have exactly the places, they know how to light the glades, and they've done all kinds of really nifty effects there. So that would work really well. I think the other thing that struck me about what you said, Sarah, was this sense of the two different communities. And what I found really powerful was, we saw it in this scene with the boy, and we have presentiments of it elsewhere, the way that these two communities intersect. He knows who she is. He doesn't know she's a witch. So there's this sort of secret society thing going on, which surely must have been a component of the witch hysteria, the sense that any neighbor might be one. So that's interesting. But the main thing that I was going to say, and I'm going to shut up after this and hand over to Lois, is that it's Not a play I can categorize. Rob talked about categorizing it in modern genre terms, and in that sense, it's pretty clearly folk horror so far. But in terms of the other early modern plays we've looked at, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know what it's up to, and I've gotten quite used to knowing what these plays are up to in the course of the last 4 years of reading.
Yes. Is it a comedy? Is it a tragedy? Is it, what is it? And it's not giving us an answer to that. I don't know. I assume you haven't gone over to Lois yet. Lois.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's partly you could almost call it a historical play, except that it's dealing with very contemporary history. I mean, it's got a certain amount of information about things that are supposed to be going on. Then it's also importing, I suppose, in a way, the usual things that you get with the supernatural, which is sort of fun things happening on stage and amazing changes and stuff going up and down and all that. But it's not just the sort of scary outside world and the world of the witches. I mean, we also have the world of Mr. Generous's house, which is very warm. It has a wine cellar. And then there are those interesting references to the Mitre Tavern in London. We've got a couple of those. The wine there was exceptionally good. I mean, this is something that poets of the time write about, actually. Either the Mitre or the Mermaid is having really wonderful wine and great companionship and, a lovely place to be. So I think ideally you'd want to somehow bring out the sense of this little warm enclave, which is perhaps being threatened on all sides by all this stuff from the forests and the rocks and whatever is around there. I think it's quite fascinating.
Yes, you need a society to destroy for the play to have sort of impact, and that sense of getting the impression of how cozy and that he likes his wine and he insists now on sending out for it, and we don't have time before the thing, and it's all very commonplace. And how is it solved by magical steeds and flying milk pails? Alan.
I'm just wondering whether this is building on the vogue for masks because of the number of physical effects that we've noticed, the self-motivating pail, costume changes and so on, whether someone has got involved with legit theatre from the mask world in that. The other thing that struck me is I wonder whether this is specifically a London Playhouse play.
It is the King's Men at the Globe,
and whether part of the shtick is, them people up in the north, they're nearly foreigners, we can take the mick out of them.
Well, I mean, it partly depends on how much touring the King's Men are doing. They're not as prominent a tourers as some other companies are, but they do it. So, and I don't even know precisely how many of them are where they hail from by 1634. It's quite outside of my knowledge base. So yeah, I mean, again, the mask world and the theatre world, there's so much overlap and back and forth between it. Beyond the actual primary dancing side of it. And there's an awful lot more of it in the theatre scene. And yes, they mention the word explicitly, a mask when their familiars come on. So we have a little mask of dancing animals, presumably, that is to be inferred from the text, as if this play isn't bloody long enough. It's vaulted past 3 hours. That said, it does move quite quickly as a text. Has to be said. We got through a lot of words today, and we've still had chance to chat about it. So that gives me hope that you don't have to savagely destroy this text, because I think it's really rich and really interesting, and I really don't want to hack at it, because I mean, that's the advantage for an audio or a film version. I think Eric's right. I think this would lend very nicely to film with the right budget. This would be a really interesting thing to serialize as well as produce as an evening's entertainment. Any other final thoughts to throw in? Okay, well, we are quite impressed with the Lancashire Witches, the Witches of Lancashire, and everything therein. We will return next time to see whether the play will cruelly disappoint us, having got our hopes up. You can always join us for the highs and the lows. You can sign up and be one of us. There are sign-up forms on the website all the time. There should be a link in the show description to the page on our website. You can join us every week. There's the sign-up form. You can sign up. There's no system. There's no auditions. We're just people. We're just normal men. We're just
not
innocent
actually
men.
witches.
So anyone can come along every week that we do this. So do sign up and join us if you want. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Suck our bloods freely, and it will be jolly.